Hi, my name is Mike Baio with Bangert. In today's session, we're going to go through how to process a bonus check in Sage Intacct's construction payroll system. Before we can get into actually processing the check, there's a few things we're going to want to go through and make sure are set up in the system. One of the first things you want to do is make sure you have a bonus reimbursement pay modifier set up in your system. So you can go into Applications, Payroll, and under Setup, you can go into System Pay Modifiers. Depending on if you set this up ahead of time during your deployment or not, you may or may not need to set this up. But you can do a quick search for bonus here. You can type in bonus, B-O-N, it'll show you all the pay modifiers. In my case, I do have one set up, but I'm going to go in and show you how to set it up in case you don't have one set up yet. So if you didn't set one up yet, basically you would come over to here and click Create New. And let's go ahead and do that. So I'll give it I'll just call it a B2 for bonus 2. I'll give it an effective date. You do want to make sure that this is prior to whenever you plan on executing your bonuses. And for the pay category, it needs to be selected as what's called a reimbursement. Okay, now it's not the traditional reimburse expenses. This is actually, I equate it to an other pay or bonus type pay. So the pay category you need is reimbursement. And the type depends on how you're going to calculate it. In most cases, you're going to calculate it based on a flat amount or a percent of something. So the type typically is going to be pay category of reimbursement and type of amount. Okay. And then from there, what you're going to need to do is you're going to want to put in the taxes that are affected by this bonus. So for example, you're going to want to list your federal income tax, your FUTA, all your traditional federal taxes, your FICA, and your Medicare. And I'm just best fitting them in quickly. And then whatever state. So for example, SIT, I believe my demo date is Oregon. If you're unsure, select them all. But, whatever your state is, and then maybe a state income tax, unemployment tax if you have that too. So you're going to go through and select all the taxes that are affected for this system pay modifier. When you get down to the contribution details, typically you're going to leave this blank because we're going to fill it in during processing. So we're not going to put in a typical bonus amount in there. And then basically, because we're going to fill that in, you can leave the base definition right on time card earnings. And that should be all you need at that point. I'll click Save here just so you can see it saved. And then I'll go over and show you my bonus one that we're going to actually use. So it's as simple as getting that set up in the system. I'm going to click back. And now you'll see I have a B2 and a bonus. But we're going to use the bonus one today. And the bonus one here, you can see I filled out, for my demo date, I filled out all my state taxes in here just in case I used an employee from a different state. But I basically set it up the same way as you just saw. So once that bonus is set up, you're ready for the next step. So the next step is you want to go and make sure that the new pay modifier you added to your list is going to be in the journal entry mappings that you're going to need for this employee or employees. So in this case, we're going to do a salary employee. So we're going to go into the journal entry mappings that I have, and I have one for salary employees called salary wages. So I'm going to put it in the same spot here. I'm going to go into salary wages, and you'll see I have my salary pay listed here. Well, I'm going to add a new check item, and I'm going to select that bonus. If you don't see it, you can type in bonus, and it should grab it there. And I'm going to use the benefit ones that we just set up here. So we'll say bonus. Oh, sorry. Don't want that one. I want. Let me delete that again and try that again. I want the benefit bonus right there. Okay, there we go. Click add. And now you'll be able to do your same mappings that you would normally do. You'll need to find your payroll clearing account, which I believe I have it called accrued payroll liability, my check date, gross pay, and it's going to be the credit side. I'm sorry, the debit, no, the credit side. And we're just going to define the detail here, and then my expense side, I do have a specific account for bonuses. You can type in bonus and it'll show you I have a compensation bonus here. So it's going to go there, and that's going to be my debit. And I do want job, location, and employee detail on that. So you just want to make sure you get that GL mapping set up however you're doing it with everything else in the system. So we'll click save here. Okay. The next step, you want to make sure if there are any employee pay modifiers that are calculated off of wages that need to also be calculated off the bonus, you want to make sure those are added to the pay modifiers. So for example, 401k. So we do want to take the normal, let's say in this case, we want to take the normal calculation that the employee has selected to defer their 401k into their 401k account. So in the setup of the 401k pay modifier, there's a place down on the bottom called base definition. So right now, the typical setup is going to be based off time card earnings, which is going to be your gross pay. And what you can do here is hit the plus button, and then you could select a particular contribution type, which in this case, I selected pay modifier. And what I'm saying here is I also want to calculate the 401k deduction off of the bonus pay as well. So I would pick it off the list here and grab it, which I already have done. Okay, so that's already set up in the system. So you just want to make sure that any other pay modifier that the employee might be getting, for example, maybe a garnishment pay, that's eligible as well. So you would need to go into the garnishment. And you would want to add to the time card earnings, also deduct out the pay modifier bonus as well for that, just in case they had that. Okay, so you do want to make sure that's one of your steps that you have that set up in the system. Once you're good with that, I'm going to hit cancel here. I'm not going to save that one. You're ready to move on to the next step. And the next thing to check for is with auto salary employees, you don't need to code to a project. In the case of the bonus, you're going to need to code to a project. So typically, clients will have a non-job project set up in their system for coding hourly to miscellaneous jobs. So whether you want to set up a new job for bonuses or if you already have one set up, you can play off that as well. In this case, I do have a job set up in here called non-job payroll. So what I have done though is in my project setup, so if I go to projects, and I pull that non-job up, which is right here, non-job payroll, you'll notice if I go to cost codes, I have set up some cost codes. So in this case, I have a cost code that, typical payroll is going to go to. But in addition, I wanted to break the bonus out. So what I did was I set up a new cost code called bonus pay. And then the only thing you do if you do something like that is you want to make sure that cost code has the labor cost types on it. So in this case, labor burden. I don't think anything's going to go to labor burden, but just in case. So you can have that set up in there. Okay. Then what happens is in the job setup, in that project setup, we want to take a look at under payroll, under the jobs in payroll, we want to go into that job and see where those journal mappings are posting to. So non-job payroll in this case is actually going to a GL pay group called wages. So in this case, I also want to add that bonus GL mapping to the wages as well. So I'm glad I checked that. We'll go back over to journal entry mappings. We'll go into wages, and you'll notice I don't have the bonus here. I'll add it. And I'll find my bonus, add, and now I can do the same thing I just did earlier. Let's add this really quick here. Accrued payroll liability, check. Credit, we don't want the job here, we just want the employee, and then my salary. Compensation, bonus, I meant to say bonus here. Compensation bonus. Check date, debit, And we're going to turn that all on there as well. Okay, save that, click OK, and we should be good to go there. So once that job's set up, you have the GL mappings loaded up in the system. One of the last things you want to consider is, for the bonus, how is the employee going to get paid? So, for example, employees may be set up as direct deposit employees, but for the bonus checks, we're going to hand them out as actual paper checks. So in this scenario, I'm going to give Doug Moffett a bonus. And if I go into the time and expense employee setup for Doug, and I go find him, where is Doug? Probably on the second page. And I should just type in Doug. Okay, so there's Doug. So if I go into Doug's setup and I go to the reimbursement information, this will tell me what their default method is. And right now, Doug is set up for a direct deposit. So in the case of for the bonus check, if you do want it to be a physical check, what you need to do is switch it here before you start processing the payroll. So for, when you're ready to do your bonus run, come into here to the employees and say, oh, nope, they're going to get a check for this one. Okay. And then just remember to switch it back when you're done. In this sample, we'll just leave it on ACH. We'll say they're going to get the same thing that they normally do, which is a direct deposit setup. Okay. Now that we have those setup items taken care of, we're ready to go through and get our bonus checks entered in the system. So where you're going to do that is under payroll, under all, and under time cards. So again, I'm giving a bonus here for an auto salary employee. So normally I wouldn't have to go into time cards and generate time for them. But for the bonus checks, you're going to want to put the bonus amount in through time cards. So what we're going to do here is you're still going to have the ability to go into time cards here and pull the pay group up. So in this case, I'm going to give Doug a bonus. He's under the weekly salary group. And what week am I doing this as of? And I'm going to do it as of, I believe, the first week in July. I have some demo in here. So if I click View Timesheets, this is going to show me all the checks that have already been processed. And it looks like I picked the wrong. No, I didn't pick the wrong week. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a step back. So for example, in a normal process, you might already have a normal payroll check for Doug for that week. So let's go take a look under payroll checks and show you that we do have one in there. So let's go to weekly salary and let's pick the check date, which should be July 6th. And you'll notice Doug has a normal weekly check along with 4 other employees here. So if I look at Doug, he gets an auto salary of $1,700 per week. So that's already in there. That's already been processed. So what you're going to be able to do with your bonus check is use the same week. It's going to give him a second check. Okay. So I just wanted to see that that's already there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into time cards. We're going to select weekly salary, pull the week we want to do, which is week ending July 1st for a 6th check. We're going to click View Timesheets. And now you're going to see all the employees that are available in this pay group to apply the bonuses to. So we're just going to do it for Doug. So what I'm going to do is open up Doug right here in the system. And once you have this open, what you're going to do is you're going to add a new work detail. So you're going to click on the plus button here, and you're going to select that job that we talked about earlier. So in my case, it's my non-job payroll. Yours might say bonus job, office, whatever you have set up in your system. And now we'll be able to code to that cost code that I set up called bonus pay. You don't have to. You can put it to the same ones you normally do. But I set up one called bonus pay. And it's going to go to labor, which is typical. Okay, so you're going to want to code it to the job, the cost code, the cost type. And then what you need to do is select a day in this week. It doesn't matter which day you select. I usually select a Monday and open that up. Once you open that up, you have the ability to get to the reimbursements tab. And this is where you're going to select that bonus. Notice the B2s are also there as well, but we're going to use the bonus one. And now you can come in and key in what the bonus amount is going to be. We'll say 5,000 in this case, and you could even label it, we'll say quarterly bonus or something like that. Oops. Okay. Once you key in grab it from the drop-down list and key in the amount, you'll click Save. and that will save that to that employee. I like to close it back up. So if I click on Doug now and shrink this back up, I can see there's a bonus pay in there and $5,000 worth. I'm not going to have any time entry because it's a salaried employee, but now I can come into here. Now I can key in others. If I have more bonuses to do, I can process them all at the same time. So you can repeat the process for any other employees. You could do multiple pay groups too if you want to. I'm just going to say, all right, we're just giving Doug a bonus. So I'm going to check him off and his looks good. 5,000. I'm going to approve it. By approving it, that allows it eligible to be processed as a check. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure it's approved. Once it's approved, you're going to follow your normal process. So you're going to come in. The next step would be to come into your checks. And the first time you're processing payroll, again, normal process. You don't select up on top here. You just come into here and say generate checks. You can range that employee if you want to. And I'm going to do that just to be safe. I'm going to say just want to process Doug. And it's for the pay group weekly salary. What you could do is leave it blank, process the weekly salary, and don't include salary employees. Now, if they've already been processed for the week, they're not going to add another one anyway, so it wouldn't hurt if you had yes on here. But if I just say no, it's only going to process time that's eligible, which in this case is only Doug. So either way you do it, it's a preference here. You do need to make sure you select the correct period end date, which in this case is going to be July 1st again. And you could give it a different check date. For example, 6th is your payroll run. You want to give it to them on the 7th. You can override that check date as well. Or you can leave it the same as the week ending one. So we'll say generate checks. And that's going to go and look at that 5,000. And it'll show you any checks that have already been processed for that week. And you can notice here that Doug, there's the new one for 5,000. There's his normal weekly payroll check. And then now we can start reviewing the information inside this check. Okay, so before you prove anything, what you want to do is drill down into Doug and take a look at the actual check. So if I click on Doug's name here, it'll open up the check record. And you can see there's the bonus check. And you'll notice now, typically in Doug's setup, he gets a health family deduction taken out. Well, we never added the bonus to that. So it didn't give it to him, which we wouldn't want to happen here because he already got it taken out weekly in that scenario. Now, the 401k, he did get his normal 10% taken out because we said calculate the 401k off the bonus as well. And we'll get back to that in a second. There's the taxes that are calculated and any employee fringes. Okay. So one of the things that might happen is in this scenario, maybe you should have got health employees. So what you can do is in the deductions, you can come into here and you can modify that on the fly. So I can come into here and say, you should have got the $50 taken out for that. And you can add it if you want to. Okay. Unfortunately for 401k, you can't do that. All right. So let's say in this scenario, oh shoot, I forgot. He did ask if I would deduct 1,000 out this time, not the 500. So how do I modify this? Do I got to void the check? Do I got to do all that? No. No, what you can do is this. We can go and click back here. We're not going to save anything. And because we haven't approved this check yet, we can go and actually recalculate it. So what we can do is, and we can go back into the employee file and change his setup. So what I like to do is right mouse click on the tab, click duplicate. So it'll leave me in my check information, but now I can jump over here. I can go into payroll. I can go into the employee and I can go into the pay modifier setup for Doug. I can come into here. I can change the pay modifiers. And so his normal 401k is 10%. Okay. So what I can do is for this run, I can just come into here and zero that one out. And I know that he wants 1,000 deducted out. So I can just put a flat amount in there for now. I can click save. Now I could also just change the percentage to 20 and do the math, and that would have worked as well. I can click save. And now I can jump back over here. I can select Doug, the bonus check. Under actions, I can say recalculate. And that'll go look at his employee record again. And now if I open that back up, the 401k is now 823. And that's interesting why it did that, but I'll have to take a look at that. Again, what did I do there? Pre-tax, Doug. And he might have reached a limit or something like that in my setup is what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what he did. So I gave him the 823, which is fine, or whatever that case may be. So you can see how you can do that, and you can have it recalculate for you and go from there on that. Okay. Now, the other scenario is in some cases, you might want the taxes to calculate differently. So you cannot modify the taxes on the fly. That's one of the only things besides 401k you can't do. So what you can do is there's an awesome article. We're not going to get into details on it today, but there's an awesome article in the payroll help menu that you can see exactly step by step how to do that. The easiest way to get to that, if you do need it in this scenario, is to go into help.cloudpayrollengineengine.com. So that's help.cloudpayrollengineengine.com. And when you enter into that, it'll take you right into the knowledge base for the payroll system. And all you simply have to do is type in bonus check. And the first article that comes up is the one that you would need, which is called Override Tax Rates. And right in here, there is an excellent step-by-step on what you can do to get your taxes overridden for that bonus run. So in this scenario, you can see here, they want to do a different federal deduction. So they're doing a FIT bonus tax. And you could set that up ahead of time. So there's a step-by-step that'll basically take you through a lot of what we did today, but it'll also go through the tax. So you can do that as well. Okay. So at this point, basically then Doug is ready to go through your normal process. It looks good. We're going to approve it. And this is going to be your normal flow. Then we're going to post it. And then we're going to actually pay it in the system. So when you're paying it, that's when it'll do the regular direct deposit. Something's in my setup here. But basically at that point, you're taking it through your normal process in the system for that bonus check that'll be posted. So it's a pretty simple process. You do want to have some setup information done ahead of time. You can set that up during deployment if you know you are regularly going to be doing bonuses at the end of the year or whatnot. Or you can set it up right before you're ready to do it. It won't take that long at all. Thank you for joining us today. Please, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the chat below and like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it and look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.